I am just starting out on the Crag Crest trail up on Mesa still. This one's a fairly long one. I think it's a little over 10 miles. But there's only about 1,000 feet of elevation gain. I debated about doing this one today or not because it has been cloudy and looking like it might rain, but it's cleared up a little bit. I looked at the weather and there's some rain clouds around. Maybe we'll get some rain early this afternoon. So hopefully I'm done by then. You can either do this loop clockwise or counterclockwise. There were arguments online about which way was better. I decided to go with clockwise. Trail has just been gradually rising. A very pretty trail. Just going across all of these massive rock slides. And down below there have been just a series of lakes and reservoirs. Seen a bunch of deer, but nothing else so far. Oh, looks like we got the first switchback. Not too steep. Just steadily going up. Still just chugging along through the woods. I keep going on these little side turnouts to go see these views, even though I know they're going to have much better views when I get up on the crest. But I like coming over and seeing them anyway. Ah, this one's pretty rocky and steep. This is just a giant rock fall. Okay, be careful on the edge here. This is a different one than the rest. The rest have all had lakes and reservoirs down below. Just giant piles of rocks out there. What an awesome place Grand Mesa is. I am definitely going to be coming back here again. Well, this is the first side trail that's gone off to the other side. They've all been on the right so far. And it looks like we're going to have some nice views over this way. Starting to get up to some snow patches. Not warm enough for a snow hat yet. Oh yeah, awesome views over here. I think I'm just going to keep going along that ridge. Nice lakes and hills in the background. Absolutely beautiful weather still. Made it up to ridge. It is very nice. I saw some sort of animal playing on the rocks up here. I suspect it was a marmot. Nice little flowers. This hike started at about 10,500 feet. I think I've gone up 700 or 800 feet. So 11.2, 11.3, something like that now. This is just an awesome trail. I read a little bit about these downed trees down there. They had an infestation of that whatever beetle is that eats all those trees, and they had to cut down a ton of them that were infected. So that's why there's huge swaths of dead trees down there. Looks like they didn't make it over to this side of the crest though. There were 7 or 8 cars at the trailhead when I got here, but I passed 3 groups within the first 15 minutes of walking. So that should be several of those vehicles. And one person was on their way out going the other way as I was going up. So I'll probably still encounter people going the other direction since people go both ways on this one. But overall, not as crowded as I would have expected. I read that it was a crowded trail, and this is a Sunday morning, and I started very late. I didn't start till close to 9. But so far, I have not seen anyone outside of the first 15 minutes of walking. There were 7 or 8 cars at the trailhead when I got here. But I passed 3 groups within the first 15 minutes of walking. So that should be several of those vehicles. And one person was on their way out going the other way as I was going up. So I'll probably still encounter people going the other direction since people go both ways on this one. But overall, not as crowded as I would have expected. I read that it was a crowded trail, and this is a Sunday morning, and I started very late. I didn't start till close to 9. But so far, I have not seen anyone outside of the first 15 minutes of walking. What an awesome view up here. Just been going along the crest. It doesn't always go on the very top, it drops on the side a lot, but it's always near the top, and you're constantly having these really good views off to the sides. This is just such a nice hike. Theoretically, I could have flown the drone out here. We are in a national forest and it's not a wilderness, but this trail does get a bunch of people, and I didn't want to bother anybody. It's very annoying when there's a drone flying around and you're trying to hike. Got the Rocky Mountains straight ahead over there. Nice dry hills over that way. And back behind us that way is Grand Junction. Somewhere down there is a visitor center that I would like to find and see if they have water, because I'm running low on water to use to clean dishes and stuff. I've got plenty of bottles. I'm not low on drinking water, but I don't want to use that for cleaning if I don't need to. Well, I'm at about 4.5 miles and 800 feet of elevation gain so far on this. Ever since I got up to the crest, it has just been non-stop. Amazing views everywhere. Looks like there's some rain over that way, and it looks like there's some rain ahead of me over that way, but currently no rain up here on the crest, which is good. Don't want to be up here if there's any type of thunderstorm. In terms of views to work ratio, this hike is way up there. Very easy hiking. Only 800 feet of gain and 4.5 miles is nothing. And it is just beautiful up here. This one never really gets to like a full knife's edge, but it does get fairly narrow from time to time. Some nice big drop-offs on the side. Still nobody behind me. I have this whole trail to myself on a Sunday morning. It's crazy. Well, just did a bit more elevation gain to get up on that higher crag you could see before. I believe this is the highest point on the crest. Fortunately, there are a lot of trees up here, so you can't see as much as you can at some of the other points. That lake looks very marshy and boggy. There are these flowers all over up here that remind me of spaceships for some reason, with these things sticking out the back. When I get back down, I'm going to look up and see if I can figure out what they are. Theoretically, done with the climb from here, it'll curve down to the right and go back below and hike back at a lower level down there. It'll be a much longer lower level hike on the way back. I did the ridge part first to make sure I was down before the rain started. So it'll be an equal distance back at a lower level. Theoretically, you could just walk back along the crest, but I saw a few people recommend against doing that. They said the hike back down below was very enjoyable also. And it would be the same views again. So I'm going to do that and make it a loop. Very, very impressed with this hike. Very little effort for quite a lot of reward. I'm going to see if I can find a nice spot to sit down somewhere with a good view up here and stop and have a snack before I do the down climb and get my hiking poles back out of the pack. I can see where it goes down way up there, so I got a little while before it starts really going down. But this looks like a nice high point to stop and have a snack on. This rock looks perfect. Yep, nice drop off down below. Very nice lunch spot. Well, I've made it down to the bottom after a bunch of switchbacks. Walked alongside that very marshy looking lake over there. And now I've come out of the woods, kind of, into the tree graveyard where they had to cut down all the trees that had that borer. Coming up on Upper Eggleston Lake here. Just been going around a bunch of down trees like this one and going through some more of those tree graveyards. Just past 3 guys that had a huge fishing net and 3 enormous fishing poles that looked like they were like for deep sea fishing or something, walking out to that little pond out there with those. I do not know if they know how small that pond is, or maybe there's some other lake or pond they can hike to back there. But those looked like the wrong poles to be fishing at that spot. Well, I walked all the way around that side of Upper Eggleston Lake. You can get down to it over here. Built a mound that goes across and have controls for the water level over here to drain it off. There's a road over that way and a campground. But there is not a single person out here fishing on this lake, which seems insane. On Sunday, it's probably getting close to noon. This seems like the ideal fishing lake up here. It's not one of those super tiny ones that isn't going to have anything in it. It's big enough to have bigger fish, and it's an actual lake instead of a reservoir. So it's more likely that there's fish that winter here, and they aren't just ones that were seeded earlier in the year. Well, there's Eggleston Lake down there, as opposed to Upper Eggleston Lake on the other side of that dirt mound they built across. Another campground and road down there. Alternate trailhead for the loop is down there. I just came across a bunch of fairly recent looking black bear scat. Still has flies on it. So apparently there's some black bears around here. Well, I was incorrect about the trail being flat the rest of the way back. I've come up quite a ways from the lake level down there. Lots of people out on this lake. This must be a popular one to fish at. Boats out there. Lots of vehicles parked along there. Cars driving on the road. I've seen 5 more piles of fairly fresh looking bear scat in the trail. So the bears must use the trail to get places. None of them look like they're within the last few hours. I don't think they're any newer than sometime this morning. But they're definitely from within the past day. Some of them. A couple of them are older. I think it's coming from that way. And the clouds up there don't look too ominous. So I don't think this is bringing immediate rain. Okay. Yeah, and I'm walking through that huge swath of dead trees that I took a picture of from right up there somewhere. Well, I came across on that ridge, went down below in the valley, next to a pond that didn't seem to have a name on the map, came back up the other side on this ridge. That ridge over there was the Ridge Crest Trail. And then down below me, there's like a village, which was very unexpected. There's a cold wind blowing in now from the direction of those stormy looking clouds. I just felt some drips too. Better get moving. Got about a mile and a half back to the car. Well, the Crag Crest Trail ended up being 10.7 miles, 1,300 feet of elevation gain, 4.5 hours. Very nice hike. The coming back part on the bottom was fairly dull. If I did it again, I might just do out and back on the crest. It might have been better if the whole forest hadn't been all cut down at some point, but going through the just dead trees was not super exciting. So, I'm at a campsite here up on top of the Mesa. I got another hike to do tomorrow. It's on the east side of the Mesa, but that area was very built up and busy, and there wasn't really anywhere free to camp over there. So I drove back to the area I camped in last night and found a spot here and set up and made tuna wraps for lunch. And I noticed at the back of this random site is this trail that goes out this way. And I assumed it was just a cow trail because there's some cow pies back there and a couple more immediately along here. But it seems to be like an actual trail. It's fairly well established. I walked back a little ways to see where it went and didn't find an end to it. I was just wearing flip-flops, so I came back and got shoes. Nice big bumblebee. There's a whole bunch of flowers back here. And it seemed like a very nice little trail going through the woods. Got some aspens going on. All kinds of flowers. So, went and put my hiking shoes back on. Had a drink of water. And decided to do some more hiking. So I'm going to see where this goes. I checked and it is not on any maps. I went and checked the topographical map, nothing there. Gaia, nothing. Google, nothing. Not on any maps. So I have no idea what this trail is or where it goes. There's not really anything this direction. So I'm just going to walk down it a ways and see if I can find anything. These are like a much bigger version of those ones I saw earlier today on the Crest trail. Like over twice as big. They're huge compared to those ones I saw. And when I just walked a little ways down here, there were a bunch of butterflies flying around. So I've got nothing else to do. Thought I might as well come check this place out, see if it goes anywhere. The only thing on the map, if you continue this way, there's like a creek. So maybe it'll end at the creek. I don't even know if the creek will be running right now. There's a morning cloak. There he goes. There are a bunch of those up here. But this looks much too established to just be a cow trail. And I feel like there would be a lot more cow poop on it if it was just a cow trail. But right up here, it's where the creek is on the map. I assume it's this little corridor right here. The creek is not here, and the trail keeps going. What is this trail? I'm not sure how far down this I should go. It is currently only 4:20. Wasn't expecting this to go very far, so I didn't bring like an extra water bottle with me. So I would say I'll go maybe a mile, 1 mile out, 1 mile back, and it's about as far as I want to go without any supplies or anything. Well, it went to a deer. A nice buck. Oh, there he goes. The trail has petered out several times. Did I just go off the trail to chase that deer? I bet it did. Does it go up through here? It's gotten very faint back here. I've lost it in some fallen trees several times. Okay, so theoretically it should have come up through here and continued right here, which it does. This is like a completely different type of forest than has been everywhere else. It's all been pine everywhere else I've hiked up here on the mesa. What is this trail? Well, I'm approaching a mile, but I really don't want to turn around because this section of the woods is really cool. There's no way this is just a game trail, right? That just happens to come out in that campsite? It is getting harder and harder to follow the further I go. Thinner and thinner, but it is definitely trafficked by something. When I first started out, there were carvings on a lot of the trees where people had etched names and stuff, but that has stopped the further back I've gone. I haven't seen anything except that big buck. And This trail just meanders around all over the place. Like a game trail, but doesn't really seem like a game trail. What an interesting section of forest. Well, I found some evidence that someone else has been back here. P. Smith, 1961. There are fallen logs that have clearly been there for years and years across this trail, so it's not a trail that ever gets maintained. And it's twisted and turned and now is pointed back the other way. I'm heading north, which is even further from ever going to run into anything on a map. But I'm at about 1.5 miles now, so I think I need to turn around. I really want to know where this trail goes, though. And I'm really enjoying this hike. I wish I had brought some water with me. Looks like you'll be able to see down a little bit once you go up there. So I'll go up to that point up there, see what I can see, and then turn around. Some very large swallowtails out here. They're not the eastern tiger swallowtails, they're something else. How is there a trail? Oh, there's some nice black bear scat. How is there a trail out here that is not on any map? I mean, clearly the trail went by there in 1961 when that guy carved his name in it, in that tree. There's no way a game trail lasts that long. They change all the time. Okay, well, it just goes down from here. So at this point, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to mark this location on my map. And next time I'm out here, maybe, I will come do a full day hike and see where the heck this thing goes. Is there some more writing on a tree over here? There's this random. It really looks like letters. 65. It's another 65. Did someone make this trail in 1965? What? I'm so confused by this trail. Alright, well, turning around, giving up on the 65 trail for now, because it is so much longer than I ever guessed it possibly would be. And I'm going to head back. But one day I will come back here and see where the 65 trail goes. Well, I took another look at that tree that had the name carved in it. It was 1961. So there are different years in the 60s. I'm wondering if this used to be a trail in the 1960s that has since fallen into disrepair and maybe gets slightly trafficked by animals. Maybe I need to find a topographical map from the 60s or 70s for this area and see if it shows up on there. Also, I think I lost the trail there. I remember going over that log. It's just right over here by this log. Here we go. This is such a weird place. It's so different than everywhere else I've been up here. It's so weird that there's this random, unnamed, unmarked trail that just comes out in a random, dispersed campsite on the side of the road, at the back of the campsite. Well, the wind has started to pick up, and I'm on my way out of this gigantic aspen grove. I think these are all quaking aspens. Keep looking for more writing on the trees, but I have not seen any on the back sides going back. So I assume you would read them facing the direction the trail goes. So the start point of the trail would be my campsite on the side of the road. But what does it go to? Well, that ended up being about 3 miles. I thought I saw a different set of footprints at one point on the way back and realized it was just I had walked that far with my flip-flops before I switched to my hiking shoes. But after 3 miles, I am no closer to having any idea what this trail is for, or where it goes, or what is going on with it. No clue. I will just have to check some older topographical maps from the 60s when those names were written and see if maybe something existed back then. Yeah, there's names on the trees here. That is a very fat chipmunk. I wonder if he was trying to raid things while I was gone. But there is nothing whatsoever to indicate here that there's like a real trail that goes somewhere. So weird. Definitely gonna have to come back and check this out sometime and figure out where it goes.